Let me introduce myself really quickly. I'm Gary Brown. I'm the Dean of Business at Western Technical College in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So we're across the river, but very close to you guys. I happen to be a football and a basketball referee and have refereed at every one of those schools that you guys mentioned. So I am gonna, I have a short PowerPoint, not a lot. I'm gonna work through some of that, and then I wanna make sure I leave time for questions at the end. So let me, I'm gonna share my screen here. All right, so obviously we're here today. We're talk about IT careers with the Future Forward program. As I mentioned, I'm the Dean of Business at Western. Give you a little bit of background on me, just so you know who I am and why I'm here. I'm going to kind of work from the most recent backwards, and I've been at Western for almost 16 years now. Prior to that, I spent 25 years in the business world in various different industries, as you can see there. One of the things I've always liked about my background is both in accounting and IT, and one of the things that's always been good about that is the skills I've learned there, or that I have, translate very well to multiple different industries. So it gives you that ability really to work in multiple industries. As you can see, I started out working for a construction company that built power plants. Spent a little bit of time in healthcare, spent a number of years in manufacturing, worked for an accounting firm, and now I've been at Western for 16 years. So again, I said I was going to start from the back and kind of work towards the front of this. Is one of the things I would tell you is I'm a two-time graduate of the technical college system in Wisconsin. And I know you have a great technical college system in Minnesota as well. So I have both an accounting and an IT background. And then one of the cool things that we allow students to do, or students are able to do, is then take those degrees and go on. So I have a bachelor's degree, I also have a master's degree, and I'm working on a doctorate. And I don't say that because I want everybody to think I'm a big deal, but I say that because I want you to know that's possible for you if that's what you want. Coming out of high school, I was a good high school student, but I didn't know what I wanted to do either. When you all say, I'm not sure what I want to do, or, you know, I had some ideas, but I went to a four-year college for a year and it didn't work out for me. I didn't like it. It wasn't giving me what I was looking for. And I went and worked in a job for a year that I frankly didn't like at all, filling vending machines, and realized that there was something else I wanted to do with my life. And I actually ended up kind of stepping into an accounting position, an accounting clerk position with a construction company via a friend of mine. I found I really liked that work, and I ended up going back to school at night for accounting, and the rest is kind of history. And here I am many years later. So, and I do want to, let me just change my view here quick, because I want to be able to see the chat room. So, okay. I'm going to break a couple of rules when it comes to Power Campus, when it comes to PowerPoints. One of the things they always tell you is not to put too much text on a slide. There's kind of a 4x4 rule, 6x6 I've heard as well. I'm going to break those rules a little bit just because I want to share a bunch of information with you and capture this. But you can see there's a lot of different functions that happen within the information technology world. And one of you mentioned artificial intelligence. That's there. Business intelligence, cybersecurity. There's a lot, and when we get into talking a little bit more about different careers and different programs and so on, it allows you to really kind of specialize or even become a generalist if you want to be. So you'll see, I'm not going to read all these to you because I know you can see them, but the technical support down at the bottom, the IoT, you're starting to hear about, the Internet of Things. I know Western is launching an Internet of Things program as well in the future. So, and then some of the skills that are in demand in this information technology area. Agile and Scrum, those are basically project management type tools and processes. You see cloud on there, you see infrastructure library. So that's really talking about all of the data and information about IT. JavaScript, Python, a lot of these are either programming languages or databases and so on. The one at the bottom, VR, AR, MR, and XR, Those are all different forms of reality. So virtual reality, extended reality, and so on. So these are all, I'm trying to give you not only some idea of what's going on right now, but also what the future looks like. So, and you'll see some duplication here, things that showed up as skill sets or that sort of thing in the jobs that are here. So these are just a sampling. I actually have another slide with some other ones on there, but you'll see, as I mentioned, database administrator, web developer, software engineers, artificial intelligence, systems analysts, Java developers. There's all kinds of different ways you can go in the IT field. And we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. I'll leave that one up just for another second or two so you can take a look and see what's there. Now, I pulled this, again, this has got a lot of information on it. I hope you're able to read it. Not all of these jobs, in fact, many of these jobs you may not get right out of let's say a technical college, but some of them you can. And the thing I mentioned before too that's great about it is if you start in a technical college, you can always then go on from there. Many of the schools, four-year schools, take the credits from the tech colleges and so on. But this is certainly a area of extreme growth, and you can make a good living in the IT field. And for some students, you know, the associate degree is as far as they have to go to make a good living. In some other areas, it's, you know, you probably really want to go on from there. But there's lots of different options, as you can see here. And these are median pay. So in other words, the average pay down the road. So let me put a little plug in for Western, but I would also say for any technical college, like I said, I know you guys have great ones in Minnesota as well. I like to think ours are the best, but that maybe I'm a little bit biased there. But we have a lot of, we have flexible and progressive learning, so we use a lot of tools. Obviously, this last year has been crazy because of COVID. We've been able to take most of our learning into a virtual world, and that has worked quite well in several of our IT programs. But we are big on the experiential learning. We really want to give students, first of all, we give you instructors. You have instructors who are have worked in the field, know this stuff, and can share real world experiences with you. But then we also try to give you real world experiences as a student. For example, in our computer support specialist program, every spring we do a student-run help desk that we then allow community members to bring in. Normally, they could actually bring in their hardware. We work on the computers. We use a help desk ticketing system that is online and so on. This year, we're going to have to do that virtually, but we're still going to do that. And so much of the computer support that happens in the world these days is done virtually anyway. It gives the students a real world experience. So there's a lot of other ways that we do that. We are driven, and I think all technical colleges, wherever they are driven this way. Our real goal is to work with employers in the area and make sure that we are providing students with the skills that they need to get jobs when they leave here. I don't have a slide on it, but you know, Western's job placement rate is in the 95% range. So one of the things I really like about being in the tech college too is that we have advisory committees for all of our programs made up of business people in the area. So they share information with us. They help us actually build our curriculum. You know, one of the things we ask them all the time is, okay, what's coming? What do we need to be adding into our programs to prepare for the future so that our students, when they leave here in a couple of years, they're able to get jobs with you. The other thing is it's a very personal experience. We don't have 300-seat lecture halls. We have 20 to 25 students in a class typically. And so it's a very personal experience. And like I mentioned before too, there's lots of options to go forward. So at Western, we have 3 primary associate degree programs. I mentioned earlier, we're actually adding another one. It's called the Internet of Things. That tends to be more in the manufacturing area. So it's really connecting big equipment into an IT field. And of course, there's some security involved in that. But These three that we have, web and software developer is essentially a programming program in that students learn a number of different program languages. The cybersecurity and network administration probably is pretty clear in that you're learning about managing a network, and we just upgraded this one or updated this one and added in a whole bunch of the cybersecurity piece of it. And then the computer support specialist is really what I mentioned before with the help desk. We train people how to be trainers. So it's a very hands-on, but it's also probably the most broad of the programs that we have at Western. So I can't have you on campus and show you the rooms, but I like to at least show off a couple of our classrooms that we use in the IT area. We call this our Cisco Lab, and Cisco is just a curriculum and a technology that's used in networking. But as you can see, there's racks there, there are computers there. This is a lab that students are in. If you could look behind, kind of turn around, you'd see a bunch of cables hanging on the wall and so on. So it's a very hands-on experience. There's 24 computers in this room, and students each have their own computer and then share a rack. And another thing that we try to do is make sure we have different classrooms designed for different types of learning. So this is another one that we call an active learning lab, and you can see students are sitting at a desk with multiple screens. The instructor can broadcast to those screens. Students can broadcast to each other through those so that they can share good work that they're doing, but yet they do it in a very collaborative way. This is, I'm not sure if you can read this, but really to give you an idea, kind of going back to that slide I showed earlier where it had all of the, like the salaries and the different types of job. This is just some information from the Wisconsin Technical College System. They do a 5-year follow-up survey with students. They also do a 6-month. This is their most recent 5-year follow-up. So you can see that in the associate degree area, there were 893 IT graduates in the technical colleges in Wisconsin. 96% are employed. Most say that they are employed in a related field. That's always interesting because that's self-reported. But you also notice that $62,000 is the annual median wage for the students employed. So as you can see, you can make a good living in the IT field. All right, I'm gonna stop my sharing and allow you guys to jump in with any questions that you have for me. You can share if you have video. Go ahead and share that. It's okay if you don't, but I will open it up for questions. Well, let me ask you a question then. What out of what I just presented, what kind of grabbed you? What did you notice that either piqued your interest or caused you to say, maybe this isn't the place? I'm hoping that didn't happen, but what did you like about that?
The growth of artificial intelligence.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, when you see those skills and you see those different kinds of jobs, there is a lot that you can do in this IT area. One of the things that we try to work with students on when they come into Western is to really help them try to think about which of those IT fields they think is the best fit for them. The reality of it is, some of them jump into one of them and say, oh, I don't think this is it. And what's nice about it is, and a lot of schools do this, is across all 3 of those programs, there are some common classes that we offer early in the program. So for example, there's a web programming class, which is essentially an intro to programming class. If you're in computer support specialist or web and software developer, you're going to take that class and it gives you an idea. So if you took that and said, boy, I really like the programming side, I thought I might be a computer support specialist, but I'm going to shift, we certainly allow that to happen. All of the students take a Cisco 1, so they take a basic networking class. If that's something that really interests you, then you can do that. Some of our students double major. I've known a few that have actually received all 3 degrees, and boy, does that round out your skills. So others, Noah or Alec or Bridget, what did you see there, or what questions do you guys have?
So with this is support specialist, does that focus more on helping people with their software issues, or is that more like the hardware side, like fixing devices?
I would say both, really. And so what we try to do with the computer support specialist is we give them some of that hardware side. We have them do the networking classes. We have them do a network administration class, but we also then have them do software applications for business so they understand the software. We have them do a Crystal Reports, which is a report writer. And you know, once you have that knowledge, you can use that really across any type of report writer. And I've used that myself in the past. I'm actually a graduate of the computer support specialist program. So the other thing that we do in there is we teach people about training others. So if they're in an environment where they have to do training, our IT department, for example, at Western, you know, if we do a software upgrade or an implementation of a new system, we're still in the midst of doing what they call a CRM system, customer relationship management. So we try to teach our students, give them the skills to do the training, and they get a lot of experience in that. And some of our programs, I mentioned the computer support help desk, but we also have done offered trainings for people within the community and so on to come in.
Yeah, I think I know for me, I would like to go into some more like the engineering and software development side, but also fixing hardware and stuff like that sounds pretty interesting too. So
yeah, and one of the labs I thought about putting in there, I want to inundate you guys with a whole bunch of different pictures, but we have what we call our IT hardware software lab, and that's a lot of words, I guess, but it's a lab that is basically, we have a whole bunch of computers. The instructor basically breaks them, and then the students get to work to fix them. And it might be software, it might be hardware, it might be both. So I know the question about the computer support specialist, but all the students in all of our IT programs take that course. So again, they're starting out really getting kind of a broad base knowledge, and it allows students to then decide, maybe I want to go this route or that route. But really the understanding of all of that, of software issues, some basic hardware issues, is important for anybody, even if you're writing a program or if you're doing training or whatever. So
No, I do want to mention, hi, I'm Haley. I'm one of the admission coaches at the college. We do have a program that's called our Computer and Engineering Technology program. So that is going to be very specific for students wanting to go into computer engineering. We have a partnership with both UWL and the Milwaukee School of Engineering, a 2+2. So pretty much at Western, you get the kind of the hardware side of things where you'll learn the circuitry, power, all of that. And then you transfer that out into your four-year school, either Milwaukee or UWL. And you can do either computer engineering or computer science at either.
thanks, Haley. That's great. Yeah, and I mentioned too, Haley, I don't know if you know this even at this point, but we are launching a new program, Internet of Things, and it will utilize, I think, 5 or 6 of the classes out of our cybersecurity and networking areas, as well as web and software. But then it'll build in that engineering piece, the machining piece, and so on. So that's a pretty exciting offering that's coming down. I think we're going to be offering that this fall, but I don't want to commit to that for sure. I'm not going to be overseeing that program.
We haven't met quite yet about that program, so I'm super excited to learn more about it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things too, I think you all know, the field of information technology is changing constantly. It's always evolving and always changing. And so that's one of the reasons that we really, we work with the businesses in the community and so on, is so that we can keep up to date with what's going on. So we're not lacking, one of the things you saw on one of those slides was Python. Python is a programming, I'm going to say language. I'm not an expert in it, but it's one of the things that we're looking at adding in. I know SQL was a big one. We have SQL in all three of our IT programs. So again, we're always trying to keep our eyes on the future and make sure we're incorporating those changes into our programs.
Do you guys have JavaScript?
Yes. They hit that pretty hard in our web and software developer program. They look at Java, they look at JavaScript, they look at C# and work with that. They ASP.NET. There's
C++ and stuff like that.
Yep. They're one of the things we stop and think about often is how many different languages do we want to throw at a student? Because when you try to give them too much, it starts to get overwhelming. But we try to keep on top of what's happening, what's changing, and so on. So, for example, we used to have, you may not have ever even heard of this, but we used to have something in the program called RPG.
Yep.
RPG still exists. It's still out in the business world, but we're removing it from the program at this point. We went from 2 classes down to 1. Now we're going to none. And that's from the feedback from employers saying, we're not developing anything new with RPG. What we have, we maintain, but we have people that can do that. So, we made the decision we wanted to bring in, and it may be something like Python instead of RPG so that we stay more current.
Yeah, like Python's like really modern almost. I'm
Yeah.
taking a AP Computer Science Principles class. Like, I've just been learning about like the history of coding.
Sure.
It's crazy how long like Python has already been out. It came out in like 1991 or something.
Yeah, and it's just now really kind of floating to the surface as a big deal. But yeah, I've been around long enough where I remember Fortran and COBOL. So you probably learned about those, but they're long gone at this point, although they might still exist somewhere.
Like, isn't like a Python like a all like a round language, like for like artificial intelligence, back end, front end, like everything?
Dane, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you, I'm not super familiar with that. That's not really my area of expertise. I'm not a programmer, but I could certainly connect you with somebody who could talk about that with you if you wanted to down the road.
Okay.
Yeah. Other questions that anybody has? You can ask me anything. It doesn't have to be about IT. I mean, if it's about college, if it's about the background I shared, I'm pretty open to anything.
Yeah, I had a question. So like, let's say you're out of college, like a couple decades down the line. Have you or like anyone you've known, have they been like phased out of a job just because they're not as up to date with the information as newer people?
Absolutely, sure. That happens. And when one of the things that's kind of cool about our environment is we have students that range anywhere from, we have quite a few students who are still in high school taking classes at Western, either at their high school or coming right to the college. We actually had a student a couple of years ago who graduated from our web and software developer program before he graduated from high school, which was kind of amazing. But the age ranges, we get people in their 40s, 50s, 60s who come back to school. And to your point, Bridget, sometimes they get phased out, or their skill set hasn't kept up with what's gone on. So they find themselves looking at, wow, I'm not there right now. I don't have the knowledge. What's nice for a lot of them is they will recognize that maybe before they are phased out, and they are able to come back in and enhance their education. So we see that as well, where we see students saying, you know what, I really want to get promoted in my company, but I don't have the degree, or I didn't finish a degree, or whatever. So, we and other technical colleges, I mean, we know that most of our students are going to be working, many of them a lot of hours, full-time or at least heavy part-time. So we try to be flexible. We try to do things, we can't be everything for everybody, but we try to make sure that as best as possible, we are able to offer programs that students can work and still be part of.
So are you guys with like University of Madison at all?
Are we connected with them?
Yeah.
We, to some extent, in that we are we're all part of a Wisconsin higher education system. We have some articulation agreements with them. what happens in Wisconsin, which is a little different than Minnesota. Minnesota, the university system and the technical colleges are all under the same umbrella. That's not the case in Wisconsin. So the University of Wisconsin and its extensions, we have one in La Crosse, University of Wisconsin La Crosse, they're under an umbrella, and the Wisconsin Technical College system is a standalone, and we have 16 schools across the state. But we do work with them, we do meet with them, we do try to, as much as we can, articulate, in other words, have them take our credits. The school that probably works the best for us is UW Stout up in Menominee. They are a heavy IT college, and they do a lot with Western, but we are doing more and more all the time with the UW schools and others to have them accept our credits so students can transfer as seamlessly as possible. We know that students, I shared with you my story a little bit. I do know at times I struggled. There was a time where some of the four-year schools, or many of the four-year schools, didn't want to take the technical college credits. That has changed dramatically in the last like 20 years, in that they know what the rigor is. It's interesting because a lot of times the technology piece, you're getting a heavier dose of the technology in the technical colleges. Makes sense, right? Because our goal is to get you an associate degree and get you into the workplace. And again, we still want to also set you up so you can go on and complete a bachelor's degree or a master's degree down the road. But you know, we have a lot of students who do go to work and then they maybe become part-time students, which is what I've done most of my career.
So for the AI engineering field, is that more just kind of like developing code and testing it and just trying to advance that aspect of it?
I would say yes. Again, I'm going to be honest and tell you I'm not an expert in that, but yes, that's really what they're looking at. It's more of the software engineering category and looking at that. So, and again, you can get a good start. I mean, you need a good foundation in programming, and then being able to go on, as Haley mentioned, there's lots of different options for going on into software engineering and that sort of thing. If there are no other questions, I don't have to be anywhere, so I'm happy to continue to talk. But I think I will give you one last shot here, and then I'm going to end the recording, and we'll go from there. Thank you all. I appreciate you coming in and the questions and so on. So good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.